So apparently, my appendix decided to... Hello. Hi. What is my life? Hey guys, welcome to another video. Today we're going to be talking about the insane story of my appendicitis, appendectomy, symptoms, what happened in the end. You won't even believe what happened in the end. So let's get into this whole story. Taking it from the top, let's talk symptoms and what led to me actually getting to hospital. So for 2 weeks before I even ended up in the hospital, I had a whole bunch of symptoms that initially made no sense whatsoever. Later on, I started feeling like something was wrong. Let me explain. So I usually had quite a few gut issues. And when I say gut issues, I mean constipation was my pal. I had quite a few issues since I was a young child. And this happened back when I was 15. So I had just turned 15. This is February of 2006 we're talking here. I had just turned 15 and I had my issues as per usual. So when I started feeling like this general kind of tummy ache, let's call it, it was kind of all over, like my stomach, just everywhere. So I started having these crampy style pains. So I thought that, okay, here we go again. Now, a couple days into the first week of symptoms, and I was pretty much stuck in bed from this pain. It wasn't severe enough to send me to the hospital or to make me want to see a doctor, but it was pretty on the bad side compared to my usual issues. As the week progressed, my symptoms started changing. So from feeling like trapped wind and constipated and that kind of thing, changed to feeling like I had food poisoning. And actually the only thing that made me feel better was drinking freshly squeezed lemon juice, straight up, just squeeze a lemon, drink it. It actually made me feel better. It kind of took away the pain. I don't know why. That definitely helped, and I thought that I had some sort of food poisoning. It just happened to come right after the constipation or something. All of this was generally the pain when it came to either situation was still very general and very all over my stomach area. Now, towards the end of that first week, the pain did start moving downwards to my lower abdomen. So it started moving downwards towards my lower abdomen, not centering down the right side where the appendix is. So again, I had no hint that it'd be appendicitis or appendix pain or anything to that effect. No. My brain was just okay, I have a stomach bug of some sort. Another weird thing that I found as the second week came around was that the pain I was feeling down low was kind of like period cramps. And I did get my period during that week as well. So that didn't really help. I had the period cramps, and then I had this weird stomach ache that would go away when I walked. When I moved and walked, it kind of became really just dull in the background, not as severe. If I was sitting down for too long, the pain would kind of build up. It was really weird. So as long as I was moving around or lying flat, I was okay. The moment I was bent up, not a good thing. So I did miss a few days of school back then. I don't remember the exact details in regards to that because it's been 16 years, 14 years. It's been a long time. I was definitely trying to go out and get to school and keep moving because I thought it was something that was just gonna pass eventually. But it was my gut just being my gut and annoying me. Now, as the second week kind of progressed, I started getting other symptoms like a numbingness in my legs. So I would be walking or sitting or just doing anything really, and my leg would go numb. I would be limping because my leg was numb. Now this happens to be a common appendicitis symptom actually. So it was kind of my first sign of what was happening, but I had no idea. So clueless little old me didn't realize the fact that I had constant stomach aches and pain building up, that it could be something else other than stomach pain. So my legs started going numb, and that is specifically my right leg, which is right beneath the appendix. And it's linked to the appendix somehow. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not a doctor. Now, my legs started going numb, and this was actually a few days prior to the peaking of the pain situation. Now, so we can have a bit of a timeline here. I went to hospital on the 19th of February, which was a Sunday night, really late at night. My symptoms started getting worse around, I would say, Wednesday, Thursday, something kind of switched and the pain started increasing. It was still coming and going. So there were times when I felt no pain whatsoever, and there were times when I was bent over with pain. It was kind of this constant coming and going with the random numbing of my leg starting from around Wednesday as well, and just kind of happening more and more often as the week went by. And I started feeling I lost my appetite. I started feeling really just wanting to throw up at times and nauseous, and everything was just kind of starting to really get weird, and it didn't feel like the normal usual oh okay, I'm just constipated kind of thing. So comes around, and it was actually the night where a show was premiering on TV and I wanted to watch it, which is why I remember the date specifically. I'm on the couch trying to watch my show, and the pain suddenly decides to center on my lower right side. It suddenly remembered to move down to my right side and start stabbing me. Like, it felt like a hot knife was being stabbed into my lower abdomen and twisted. I legitimately could not breathe every time the pain just kind of stabbed me. It was like a stabbing pain that it stopped me from breathing. Like, my breath would just catch in my throat every time the pain would hit me. It was insane. I was lying on the couch and I reached that point where the pain scared me. Like, it was so much pain. And I think in that moment, I actually thought, oh my God, my appendix is burst. This whole thing was appendicitis and I had no idea. So I finally agreed to go to the hospital. This pain finally convinced me that I needed to see a doctor and I needed to get to emergency right then and there. So we're finally headed for the hospital. Keep in mind, I had to reach the most unbearable, painful point for me to say, I need to go to see a doctor. I need to get to the hospital now. The last thing I wanted was to go to the ER, but I had no choice. We actually went to one hospital and it was so crazy and full of people. And like, by that time, I was not in pain anymore. The ER was full of just so many people and so many different things. I was starting to get a bit overwhelmed. And then this girl sat next to me and started telling me a story about how she had to have her appendix removed after 2 weeks of symptoms. I broke down crying, and my dad literally just took me and we went to a different hospital altogether, which in hindsight, I'm very glad he did, because the first hospital was just no. So we left this hospital, we went to a second hospital where I was seen almost immediately. Actually, the ER had a few people, but it was kind of flowing very quickly. So I was able to see a doctor very quickly. Now, this is where the fun part starts. By the time we got to the second hospital, I had moved around, etc. The pain was coming and going, but it was in no way the utter painful feeling that I had had at home. So that was completely gone. The stabbing, the unbearable pain was gone. It was kind of back to the dull, constipated kind of feeling. And the more I moved around, the more I could actually say I wasn't really in pain. So the doctor starts kind of like examining me, etc., kind of asking questions. So keep in mind, he's treating a 15-year-old girl. So automatically his questions are along the lines of, when was your last period, or that kind of thing. And I couldn't remember when my last period was. So I was like, I think it was a couple weeks ago. It actually had been a few days ago. So fun times. Give him the wrong information in regards to that. Automatically, he starts assuming that the pain I'm currently going through is because I'm ovulating. And I'm kind of like, we're talking pain. Like, pain that literally made me catch my breath. Like, my breath was like caught in here. I could feel my breath just not moving from here. And you're telling me that that's ovulation pain. Like, that doesn't make sense. He's going through a whole bunch of things. They took some blood to get some blood work done. They had me do an ultrasound before he made his final diagnosis, let's say. And the woman in the ultrasound, okay, so this is where it gets weird. So the woman with the ultrasound did not let my dad into the room. And I'm like, okay. She was like, no, just the patient. Kind of like, you could tell that it was like sus and that like, what on earth are you thinking? But my dad was like, okay, fine. So I went into the ultrasound room, had my first ultrasound. She was kind of like concerned. Like, was looking again and again and again at the same spot, and just she seemed to not understand what she was looking at. So she said to me, okay, I'm not getting a really clear picture. I need you to go drink an entire bottle of water and walk around for a bit and then come back. So I leave the ultrasound room and I head out to my dad. I'm like, oh Dad, I have to drink some water and walk around and stuff. So we grabbed a bottle of water from the cafeteria of the hospital. I started walking around. We were also waiting for the blood work to come back from the doctor. And we started talking about how the woman didn't let him into the ultrasound room. And my dad actually said, like, she probably thought you were pregnant and didn't want me in there in case. And I was like, I just shrugged it off. Like, that's hilarious. Like, why on earth? I mean, I was 15 at the time. Didn't even know what a kiss was. Just saying. So as we're waiting for the blood work and for me to manage to drink my bottle of water, the doctor comes and finds us and tells us that everything is fine. Everything looks normal and I'm good to go home because I'm just ovulating and the pain was nothing. And I'm like, okay. And I'm super happy to accept this because I hate hospitals and the last thing I wanted was to actually have to end up staying in hospital. So I was super happy with this news, and the doctor was very reassuring and was literally just sending us on our merry way. Yeah. So as we are walking past the door to the ultrasound room, the door opens. We're on our way out, mind you. The door opens and the woman is like, where are you going? I'm like, oh, the doctor said, oh, you're not going anywhere. I don't care what the doctor said. You're coming back in here. And I was like, okay. So apparently there had been no communication between the doctor and the ultrasound tech. I don't even know what happened there. So I'm back in the room by myself, mind you. And this woman was like scanning me and like checking and rechecking. And she's getting more and more concerned as time's going by. So she's like, look, I'm gonna ask a midwife who's way more knowledgeable than me to kind of come down and consult, because, you know, I don't understand what I'm seeing here. It might be because of my lack of experience. So I was like, okay, fine. I mean, I was 15 years old. What was I gonna say? She basically makes a phone call and she's like, I have a 15-year-old girl down here. I don't know what I'm seeing here. Like, there seems to be fluid. There seems to be something going on. Can you please come and have a look, because I'm very, very worried. Hence, I started freaking out. Internally, I did not show anything yet externally, but yeah. So I was starting to freak out, and this much older woman comes into the room after a while. She starts kind of, they start whispering between themselves, and I caught something about an ectopic pregnancy. Again, I was like, what? Like, at that point, I was kind of like, these people don't get the drift. I'm not, like, there's not, no one at any stage asked me if I was actually sexually active. No one. They did not even query it. They were looking into pregnancies and ectopic pregnancies and nothing. Okay, so they whisper among themselves and they come and look at the ultrasound, and the midwife's kind of doing the scan, and she's like, what am I even looking at? Like, they had this weird look on their face every time they would look at the ultrasound. She literally does not speak to me. Like, no one speaks to me from this point on until, like, I don't even know how long after. She turns around to the other girl and she's like, can you please contact this person, this person, this person, this person. So 3 or 4 doctors come in a little while later, and they're all sitting there looking at the screen while the midwife's doing the ultrasound and talking among themselves about, you know, oh my gosh, what's that? Look at the fluid. How is it possible? Sealed, but the fluid, but this, but that. And then the word surgery popped up, and she's gonna need surgery. I'm a 15-year-old girl in utter pain on this table, literally freaking out internally. I just started crying. I just broke down completely, started crying, tears running down my face, and the midwife suddenly turns around and realizes, oh yeah, there's a person here. So she finally starts like comforting me and telling me, you know what, it's gonna be okay. It's okay, don't worry. Yes, it's your appendix. We're gonna give you antibiotics, and you're gonna have to stay in hospital for 24 hours at least. You might not have to get surgery, don't worry. That was a lie. So we leave the room. They allow my dad to finally like see me again after forever. My dad's like freaking out, the poor thing, just walking up and down outside. And they were like, okay, so we're going to be admitting your daughter to the hospital. And apparently she has appendicitis, sort of. Like, what does sort of mean? The current diagnosis was that apparently my appendix had managed to release a ton of fluid into the external area, like so around my lower abdomen where there shouldn't be fluid, basically, which is why she thought I actually had an ectopic pregnancy, because there was a whole ton of fluid down there, and it had managed to seal itself again. So my appendix was intact, but there was fluid all around it, and signs that the appendix was inflamed, but not enough to have burst. That making sense? No? Yeah, that's what, because I couldn't understand it either. Let's continue. So I get admitted into hospital. I am moved into a room. I'm all set up with antibiotics, thinking that I wasn't gonna need surgery because the antibiotics were gonna solve whatever was going on down there. The pain was coming and going and pretty much almost non-existent, especially after I started the antibiotics. Like a few hours later, I was feeling really good. Like, I was cool. I was thinking that, yeah, I'm good. I'm gonna be able to go home. Yeah, no. What'd she say? Just around the time I was expecting a doctor to pop in and tell me that you're good to go home, everything's fine, a guy comes in, one of those like patient transfer people, I don't know what they're called, I'm sorry, forgive me. He comes in and he's like, okay, it's time to get you ready for surgery. And I'm like, what? So I had been booked in for an appendectomy? Yes, appendectomy. My appendix did not seem burst, but it also did not seem not burst. Does that make any sense? So they were going to remove my appendix because apparently it was causing issues that I was not aware of. Heading into surgery, one little fun fact before I went into surgery, and then of course I don't remember anything, but hey, was before, like in the pre-op stage, I literally had a bunch of doctors coming over, checking my abdomen. Mind you, I'm butt naked pretty much, coming in there checking, and they're like checking my abdomen, not pushing down on it, and just like, and talking among themselves. Oh wow, really? Huh. And I'm like, why am I so fascinating? It's just an appendix. So after surgery, I am a complete mess from the anesthesia and just from everything. The pain was, oh my heart. The pain was unbearable. Like I don't even, I can't even. It was, I think the only thing I can compare it to now is my C-section, basically, because appendix, okay, so let me explain the surgery here because you won't get it otherwise. So when you get your appendix removed, they basically cut a small incision in the lower right side of your abdomen. So it's usually like, I don't know, yay big. When it came to my case, they started with this and ended up with this. So they had to just kind of randomly cut me open in order to clear out everything. And you may ask, what everything are you talking about? I'll tell you. So apparently, my appendix decided that it was best practice to open like a flower and close. So basically, when an appendix bursts, the process is appendix gets inflamed because bacteria have gathered up inside and it's all blocked and can't go anywhere. So they multiply, and appendix gets inflamed, full of bacteria, pow, bacterial infection everywhere. What was happening in my case was my appendix was blocked, inflamed, reaching the point of bursting. And instead of bursting, it actually managed to open, release what was in it, and close again, and look intact, whilst all the liquid was all around it. Hence why the girl thought that I had an ectopic pregnancy and didn't realize straight away that it was actually appendicitis. So again, it was opening and closing, and it actually did it during the surgery. So the surgeons were like, they could not believe their eyes. It was like, it literally was sealed, and as they were cleaning everything up, trying to understand what was going on, it opened. And it shut, and they were like, okay. They literally asked us for permission to research, like to keep my appendix as research. They wanted to understand how on earth it did what it did. And I'm over here like, sure? My appendix is weird. Why does that not surprise me? So my appendix was slowly poisoning me from the inside out, basically. I don't even know how long. Like all the time that I had this excruciating pain, I think the point where the pain reached stabbing point was the time where it started like opening and shutting and doing its thing. Because it obviously had to like cut itself open somehow. So that must have hurt naturally. So I'm thinking that's what happened. But yeah. And then when it comes to recovery. So I was in hospital for a week. I couldn't move for the first 4 to 5 days. I had a nurse telling me that I need to get up and move, and I couldn't budge. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. Okay. And I will say this, now that I've had a C-section and I hold myself out of bed on the first day, I had no reason to hold myself out of bed and walk through that immense pain. The pain I went through when I got up after my C-section was unbelievable, as was the pain that I went through after my appendectomy at the time. However, when it came to my C-section, I had a baby I wanted to go see. Whilst 15-year-old me lying in bed in so much pain had no reason to get up and like walk through the pain. So I literally could not get out of bed, and I literally was so mad at this woman because she just kept on like, and not even in a nice, gentle, like trying to help me way, but in a really mean way. Like it was mean. Straight up mean. So after a few days in the hospital, I was actually changed to another ward so I can be closer to my surgeon so he can come in and check on me because I was far away on the other side of the hospital or something. I don't know. And I was finally able to get up and move by myself literally the day before I left the hospital. So I think I left the hospital on a Sunday. I got up on the Saturday. I got up, I went to the bathroom by myself, I did all my thing, like it was nothing. I just got up. Whereas before that, I couldn't get up. Hello. And this is me trying to film a video. Mama. You want to help Woody? Okay, let's help Woody. There you go, Woody. Your hat's on your head. So I managed to walk, I managed to get up. It was this whole, like the recovery process was kind of, I mean, it was a bit draining and tiring. Now that I'm able to compare it, for example, with my C-section, it could have gone better. Again, having a baby really gives you a different sense of what you need to do and gives you a different, like I was able to get up through immense pain, whilst then, no way. So, all in all, I was able to heal from this whole situation pretty easily afterwards. Okay, so I now have one child on either side of me. You probably can't see them, but you can hear them. So all in all, I healed pretty easily afterwards. I was limping for a little bit. I also had to take antibiotics for a while, like pretty heavy antibiotics as well, because apparently there was quite a bit of like bacteria that was being released into my system from my appendix. It was kind of gathering bacteria, letting it flow, closing up again, gathering bacteria, and just doing this again and again. My idea is that it happened around the time that the stabbing pain started, but I don't know. I mean, it could have been earlier, it could have been, I don't even know. It was a very, very interesting process, I will say that. Anyway, that is my crazy appendectomy story, guys. I had a flower for an appendix, basically. It was blooming and closing back on itself. I've never heard of this happening to anyone else. If you have had this happen to you, or if you know someone who's had this happen to, please comment down below, let me know. I'm dying to find other like co-appendicitis insanity friends, basically. So yeah. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I will see you in the next video. Bye.